The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening. How's everyone doing on this fine Thursday evening? You are tuned into Kandid Konversations with Kire. Hey, Rochelle. I am your host, Kire Senoj. And before I go on, let me let everyone know, on Facebook, I no longer have that page, Kire Senoj, and I can't get rid of it. I don't know what happened. I can't log into it or anything. So I have another Facebook page called Kandid Konversations. I'm about to change the name to that. Keith Reynolds, welcome. Thank you. Not seeing your name before. Tiffany, hey, Tiff. That's right, everyone. Subscribe. Like and share. Tonight's conversation is going to be on Black history and what are we doing? And it's about the LGBTQ portion. And I'm asking this because what are we doing as a Black gay community? Are we making any changes? Are we making strides? Or is it my way of thinking and we're going backwards? And I only ask that with things like the Zeus Network, and I just see different things I see on social media. I'm like, Marsha P. Johnson did not risk her life for this. This is not what James Baldwin would want. None of these people would want. But hey, that's Kwame, child. So anyway, and tonight now Kwame says I look better tonight on the screen. What do you all say? Before I say why I'm asking this question. But actually, now that I'm looking at myself, I do. It's clear. Yeah, so Kwame said I look better because I am working from an iPad on tonight and not the computer. So forgive me if I don't see your comments. I'm working on yes, the cash outs are helpful. Anyway. But thank you. I appreciate you all, your cash up. I appreciate your support, your love, everything. I appreciate it. Yes, I missed that comment. Go back, Kwame. What was it? And who did it? You all look good. Thank you, Tiff. That's my sister. Thank you. So tonight, as I stated, we're going to talk about LGBTQ, Black LGBTQ. I also did this because lately now, all you see is things are so out of hand. All of a sudden now, all this gay stuff, all this gay shit. And gay people have been around forever. And you'll see tonight. This is nothing new. Everything that's happening is nothing new. It's like it says in the Bible. I know somebody look like he quoted the Bible. But yeah, there is nothing new under the sun. Absolutely nothing new. This is, we're going to see. So I'm going to start off tonight by talking about... we're going to drag balls. I'm going to do 3 on 1. I'm going to talk about drag balls and the House of Labaja. So let's see. Kwame. Start off with Crystal. You want to start with Crystal? Yeah, it's Crystal Labaja from the House of Labaja. So actually, drag balls began in 1869 in Harlem, New York. They started at the Harlem Hamilton Lodge, and they were secretly held and became a safe space for gay men to come and fellowship and to be themselves. They were secretly held because they were illegal and immoral they were deemed immoral by the mainstream community. And in 1916, a moral reform organization known as the Committee of 14, they would sometimes investigate the balls and come in just to see what was really going on. Know the people. But I don't know who formed this committee, but they formed, and they would come in and investigate to see what was going on. So they wrote up a report, and it stated, scandalous behavior, a scene filled with phenomenal male perverts in expensive frocks and wigs, looking like women. I told y'all, nothing new under the sun. Nothing. Now, they released 130 of the reports and deemed all this perversion, demanded all the perversion come to an end. So they wanted to stop the balls, wanted the men to stop dressing in drag, even though, like I said, it was a safe space. But if you went out and about, you could be arrested. Imagine that. So heterosexual people came, they felt comfortable attending this as spectators, while the gay people came and felt comfortable in being themselves, so they can come and be with their lovers and be with their friends, laugh at kiki and maybe kiss or smooch on your man. Now, the community was founded by trans women, of course, Black trans women, and they were known as femme queens back then. So then eventually balls evolved throughout the years, forming houses and gay mothers. This is where Crystal Labaja comes in. So the balls, they had balls every year. It was something to look forward to. Like I said, the heterosexuals came in looking forward to it. Because like even now, you have some straights who love to just sit and watch. They're just enamored by gay people. I don't know what's the fascination. We're all human beings. We all are one. That's how I see it. I don't see nothing different about us, but straight people do. So the houses, like I said, they form gay mothers. So the house is a function. Now, Kramer, I put a picture to show you how the function is. You have that? Not the function. I'm sorry, but the how the houses are made. The structure, yes. Thanks, Kwame. So instead of like a real family, we have a gay mother or a father, and the children. And the children were the ones who were kicked out of their homes for whatever reason, for being gay, because the parents were overly religious. As I said, once again, nothing new under the sun. I've seen this firsthand when I lived in Chicago. I worked for the transit system, and one of my stops was transit. I worked every Thursday night was Belmont. Belmont is right in the heart of Boys Town. Shut up, Kwame. So that's where I worked, and I worked the third shift. I worked from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And in the wintertime, it cold. As y'all know, Chicago is extremely cold. So you had young kids walking up down the street. So like they would stop and talk to me or whatever. I don't know. I just have a magnetic personality. People just stop and talk to me no matter where I am. So the kids come to the booth and we were talking. And I said, "Why are you out here so late?" It'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Why are you out here so late? And quite a few told me they were kicked out of their homes and because their mothers were religious, and Jesus would didn't like it. I said, well, I can understand that. My mother never kicked me out. But my mother, but when I'll tell the story one day. But when everything came out about me, my mother had a fit, did a whole Viola Davis Fences award-winning performance. So I get it. And these children are taken in by house mothers and house fathers. Now, the first house was founded, the House of Labaja. This is the very first house. It was founded by Crystal Labaja in 1968. It was originally named, her original name is Crystal Labaja, but she changed it to Labaja because Labaja means beautiful in Spanish, to go along with, I'm sorry, not to go along, but to pay homage to her Latin roots. So she changed to Labaja. She was one of the few who won the Queen of the Ball at a drag ball organized by whites in the 1960s. So she would go to where whites had started. Of course, you know how we start things. They pick up things and whatever. So they had balls too, the white balls. And Crystal would enter them. Sometimes she'd be discouraged from entering them. Well, they would try to discourage her because it was, she was so beautiful. And they would say, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. You're not going to win anyway, blah, blah, blah. So in 1967, she became fed up with the racism and the discrimination from the white boss. So she started working with another drag queen by the name of Lottie, who tacked on her name, Labaja. So then they created and hosted balls strictly for black drag queens. And the very first one premiered in 1972. And the title of it was Crystal and Lottie's Labaja Presents the First Annual House of Labaja Ball. So it was held at the up the downstairs case on West 115th Street in Harlem, New York, of course. And Crystal and Lottie coined the term house to market the event, as it turned out to be a huge success. As you know, the ball scene has evolved now into, you got shows like Legendary, and we have Pose as well. We'll get into that. So Labaja had a huge influence of today's TV shows like Pose, Legendary, and the character Electra is inspired largely by Crystal Labaja. And because Electra is, but Crystal Labaja was known for her reads. And that's where watching old footage, Dominique Jackson would get, that's how she formed her character. So Crystal Labaja, and then she died sometime in the 1990s. She was born in the 30s. There's no specific year, but she died sometime in the 90s. So there was a Crystal Labaja organization, organizing fellowship offered to any black and brown, trans, gender nonconforming, or non-binary individuals who are a part of the ball community. The fellowship empowers them to address the issues impacting the lives of trans men and women, gender nonconforming and non-binary people in the house ball community via community buildings, economic empowerment, advocacy, and activism through the wellness and social justice lenses. So Crystal she was also known for helping out the kids. That's why she formed the houses, to help get kids off the streets, because they were going to we'll get into that in the next person. But they were hanging out at the pier, and to get them out of there, because that could be dangerous, just hanging out in the streets. So Crystal took them in, and she became the house mother. She became the mother to a lot of people, and which branched off into other houses. That's how other houses branched off because of her, after they had grew up and got up and got out. So then you have, after her, a member of her household is a man by the name of Junior Labaja. Junior Labaja is the voice of the iconic documentary Paris is Burning. That's what they call him, the voice of the movie. He is the main influence. His whole persona was inspired. He's the inspiration behind Billy Porter's Pray Tell character. His whole everything is Junior Labaja. That's him. So in Paris is Burning, he's a man about his business, very well known for his quick wit and his reads, and he's a fan favorite of Paris is Burning, even though he actually dropped out of the film. Right when film began, he told him, I don't want to do this. He changed his mind, but he had did one pre-interview, which they recorded in his apartment. But he allowed them to use that part in the movie and some of the audio that they captured. And of course, the film now showed up. Of course, the film crew showed up when he was emceeing the balls as well. So that's how you got to see him in the movie, right here, this picture, because the film crew came because they were following other people in the film, like Pepper Labaja, Dominic Corey. I think her Dominic. I can't pick her first name for some reason. But anyway, they were following them around, and so that's how he became in the film, even though he didn't want to do it. So another story is when they got ready to do Pose, Ryan Murphy contacted the lady who did Paris is Burning. So she contacted some of the people that were in the movie, and they contacted Junior. So Junior went and he met with her, and everybody named their price. So Junior was like, I wanted more money. If you're able to offer me this, you can give me this. So, but she had told him again, if you come to this meeting, it's not a guarantee that they're going to put you in the movie, but in the television show, but they want to hear from you because, Ryan Murphy wanted to get full details because here you are, and like Junior stated, it's funny because you had this white man telling the stories of black and brown gay people. He never went through any of the things that they went through, so he wanted all of them to come together and to tell the story, which they did. They met. Junior went to one meeting, and he said that he did the same thing he did with Paris is Burning. Like, no, I don't want to do this. He's like, no, I'm good. And so they offered him money. He's like, no, I'm good. So anyway, Junior is also a heavy influencer in the black gay community. There's a term called shake the dice and steal the rice. You hear RuPaul say it if you watch Drag Race. And which is an expression that means never forget when you were hungry. Which means now you making the kids in the ball, because like I said, some of the ball kids are poor or underprivileged. So they would come, and once you start winning money from the ball, you start making money. But they would tell them if they eating it up on the floor, hey, shake the dice and steal the rice. Which means never get, like I said, never get you a hungry. But lets you know, hey, don't get lax. You still got to do what you got to do. So now this is the phrase, shout it out, as I said, shout it out in the ball scene community. RuPaul does it on Drag Race, but it really don't apply to those girls. But RuPaul was back then. RuPaul was there during the Paris is Burning, that era. But RuPaul was going city to city, because his story is really amazing as well. I didn't include him in this though, but his story is amazing. He went city to city, which is how he knows them. This is a picture of Billy Porter and Junior Labaja, which is the only picture. So now, this is, I'm going to say allegedly, even though it came out of Junior's mouth. This is the one and only time that they met. And Billy gave him, like, as the kids say, paid him dust when they met. Now, this is a photo op. This is what Junior calls a photo op. And because Billy paid him dust, they just happened to be at and he just happened to be at this event. But because I've never heard, pray tell, Billy mention Junior LaBeija, even though me from watching Paris is Burning, when it first came out in the theater, I went to the movie to see it. I knew who it was based on, because, like I said, it's all him. But Billy's never acknowledged that, and Junior talks about that as well. Never acknowledged that. And he was saying how he agrees with Janet Mock that Hollywood is a motherfucker. Like, you have to pay heavy prices to do certain things. Like, they want you to flip over backwards if you're black. Flip over backwards, do a whole lot of stuff. And he just wasn't with it. Junior's not with it. It's a lot, he could do a lot of things. He could have done a lot more. He even admits that. He could have done, there's a lot more he could have done had he done this and done that. But he's like, no, he sticks to his guns. I wonder if he's a Libra. But he sticks to his guns. Like, it's like, you cannot change this man's mind. Once his mind is made up, it's made up. And he's just going to do whatever it is he wants to do. This picture, Billy Porter, it's now, when it comes to pose, what they did was, what Ryan Murphy did, he used the people that came to the meeting as the judges. When you watch pose, you see the judges, the ones holding up the signs, 10s, whatever. Those are the people that were in Paris is Burning. And now he just used them as judges. Like, they have non-speaking roles. They had non-speaking roles. And Junior LaBeija said, I knew it was going to be some bullshit in the game, which is why he didn't do it. So I guess that was Ryan Murphy's payment for saying thank you for, spilling your guts and letting me tell these stories. Yada, yada. Even though, as a lot of things, he beefed up just for television. Now, when it came to Pray Tell story, if you all watch the show, a lot of it is Junior's story. Of course, some things are just for television. Like, Junior did leave home. Junior was kicked out of his home. Pray Tell just left home. There's other similarities to it. But they, like I said, they never acknowledged Junior, never paid homage to Junior or anything. And that's all him. And like I stated, house balls have been around forever. The house scene, the music scene, not the music, house music. The house culture have been around forever. Now, also, he talked about Legendary and how they turned it into so much commercialism, which I said the same thing when I first saw the show. Everybody was going in. I'm like, it's okay. But I'm like, some things are just, But then again, I also didn't like it because I just do not like La Roach. Me personally. I know he was a fan favorite. I'm like, I'm a different type of gay. I don't like a lot of cattiness. I don't like unnecessary cattiness. Now, yeah, if it's to deserve, absolutely give it. But just to be cutty and nasty, I can't rock with that. And the show Legendary, I think it took away from what the ball culture really is. I mean, they came out there and they did some things, did routines, but it still wasn't. They commercialized it, as he said. I'm going to agree with Junior 100%. They commercialized it. That's my thoughts. So now, right now, what I want to do is I'm going to take a commercial break. Because when I come back, we're going to really get into. I got one person, but he takes up a whole lot. So, Kramer, let's go to commercial, pay these bills, and come right back. Yes, welcome back. So my next feature, I was gonna do one other person, but I'm like, this person just takes up so much time. And this is actually one of my favorite entertainers since I was a child. And this is the one and only. I was gonna show a picture. One and only Sylvester. Sylvester is, beyond iconic. I don't know the word that you would call him. He paved the way for so many. He is, because I be hearing people on TV telling Boy George. I'm like, no, he paved the way for Boy George. And even Boy George will tell you that. He made it okay to be androgynous. Even though what I love about Sylvester is he's a man that he didn't let anything step his way, which is why I'm wearing a shirt that says no place for fear. I was getting it's fearless on the back, but no place for fear. Because he didn't let anything or anyone hold him back. Now, as we all know how the record industry is, it's okay to do homosexual acts, but it's not okay to be a homosexual. So they would try to, pump the brakes on him. Sylvester's like, I am who I am. You got me this way. This is what I'm gonna be. Even though they pulled a couple of stunts with his album covers, trying to make him appeal because they didn't think back in the 70s. No one would buy a man in a dress. They would buy records like that, a man in a dress. You know how back, even then, it would be the same way for overweight people. No one's going to buy it if you're overweight. So Sylvester and the Tons, right? I'm getting to how they came to be with him. But yeah, Sylvester and the Tons. So anyway, Sylvester James Jr., a.k.a. Sylvester, was a great singer-songwriter. He was dubbed the Queen of Disco during the disco era. Now, he grew up in the church, always was flamboyant, and always loved singing in the choir, which helped him develop his love for music and it honed his craft. Also, the church disapproved of his feminine ways, and they let him and his mama know it. But he attended the Palm Lane Church of God in Christ in South Los Angeles. So he was always considered pretty and not rough like the other boys in the neighborhood. So he preferred to hang around girls and be around women because the kids, this got on his nerves. When he was 8, well, before that, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, when he was 8, he was molested by a man in the church, which is alleged to be the church organist. So now when you ask Sylvester about it, he says he was never molested. He said everything was consensual, but you were 8. So, and because the man hurt him, he ended up in the hospital because the man went and did perform anal sex on an 8-year-old. So Sylvester ended up in the hospital. Well, I'm saying no, he was 8. He was a little bit older, but it started when he was 8. So anyway, Sylvester ended up in the hospital, and the doctor came and told his mother that her son was gay, and his mother went into denial and was like, "My son's not gay. Gay is a sin. That is perversion. Absolutely, he is not gay." So now, even though she was the one who used to defend him when his brothers and the boys around the neighborhood used to tease him and say he gonna be a girl, you know, because of the fact that he loved when he stayed in the house, he would love to dress up in his mama's and his grandmama's clothes. So his mother used to say he's not a girl, he's just a different kind of boy. Denial, deep denial. So, but back to when he was a child and got hurt by the not alleged by the aggressor, the man that made him a victim. You know, Sylvester never saw himself as a victim. The people of the church, once word had got out, the people of the church blamed Sylvester, not the man. Which is why Sylvester made the statement in his book. The church that turned me out. Meaning the man turned him out in this, but then the church turned him out and showed him the door. So when he was 13, he left the church because the people talked about him. And I don't understand that, but I don't know. People do that. They do that when R. Kelly thing first came about, when I was I was living in Chicago then. We had discussion at my job. And some of the adults, women, blame the girls. They never said nothing about, well, they know how he is. They go down and sit. Now, granted, some of them girls, because what they did tell you in the thing, some of those girls did, I'm saying alleged, for Kwame's sake, allegedly, used to go down to hoops, because he used to play basketball all the time. So some of the girls allegedly went down there to wait for him to finish playing ball. So they would go home with him or whatever. Or he allegedly picked up something from school. Allegedly. Did this. So they would blame the girls. But my thing is this. I don't care what the girls did. I don't care what Sylvester did. The adult is supposed to be an adult and not give in and not do anything with a child. That's just me. And I saw this firsthand, especially church people do this. We had a church, quick story. Had a church trip. I was 9 years old at the time. Young lady was 16. Our church organist had a reputation of being a ladies' man. To this day, right now, he has, I'm going to say, I got about between 35 and 40 kids. So anyway, he was known for go from woman to woman to woman to woman to woman. But word had got out while we was in Memphis, Tennessee. We were visiting Al Green's church. So word had got out that the young lady spent the night in his room. And after she spent the night in his room. And when we got on the church bus, we were on our way home. And the people on the bus, the church people, started talking about it like she wasn't even sitting there. They started talking about her, and she overheard some things, and she started crying. Now, her people, her mother and aunties and stuff on the bus, and they I don't know what they said, because I don't know if my grandmother, rest in peace, Agnes Brown, but my grandmother was a woman who didn't play. My grandmother defended her, and my grandma told all them people on that bus, y'all need to be ashamed of yourselves. You said, we're talking about this girl, ain't saying nothing about his raggedy ass. My grandma was a cousin Christian. You say nothing about this man raggedy ass, but y'all talk about this girl, blah, 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 blah. And it just went on. So like I said, they blamed her. I don't know why people blame the victim in things like that. I don't know. But anyway, back to Sylvester. So one day, him and his mother, as he got older, they got into an argument, and it was such a heated argument because he started arguing with his mother and she found a new husband. They had gotten married. And of course, the man in the house, they ain't feeling your son dressed up like a woman. Yeah. But they had problems after it was Sylvester came out. Just, he was himself. So him and his mother had problems. So they got in an argument. He stayed gone for good. He ran away. And first he was sleeping on a friend's couch. Then he went to his grandmother's home because she never judged him. And his grandmother didn't judge him because she had gay friends. She had been friends with gay men since the 1930s. See, I told you, ain't nothing new under the sun. The 1930s. Gay. Wow. So Sylvester, he became very daring. So in the late 60s, he had a boyfriend named Lonnie. and they were perceived to be the it couple, what's called now goals. But so Sylvester would go out, he would go outside and drag, and it was very risky because in the state of California, dressing in drag was illegal. So he became before becoming the queen of disco, he held several jobs, while he was dressing in drag and just outside living his life. So he was a cashier at an airport parking lot. He was a worker at a department store. He became a hair salon person working in a hair salon. I don't know what he did. Then he became a makeup artist for a mortuary. And then he became a cook at McDonald's, but he got fired from there real quick because he refused to wear a hairnet. So then during the Watts riots, because he was from Watts, and he had moved to San Francisco, then came back home to Watts, like I said, his grandmother. So him and his friends, they looted in the Watts riots, and all they took was hairspray, makeup, and lipsticks, stuff for their drag, because they started doing drag 24/7. Sylvester didn't care. So then in 1970, he met a man named Michael Lyons, and the two of them had an open relationship. First white man he had. Open relationship, and Sylvester was so engrossed in this man, he proposed. So they had a marriage. They had a wedding at the Shakespeare Garden at the Golden Gate Park. And in 1970, that was unheard of. Two men to get married, very risky. Like I said, Sylvester was an innovator. Then in 1972, he was offered the chance to record a fully funded demo from A&M Records. They funded the whole thing. He recorded the whole album. He even recorded his own version of Superstar. That was a cover by the Carpenters. As y'all know, Superstar is also covered by Luther Vandross. In my opinion, Luther Vandross took that and made it his own song. Yeah. So he recorded that. And then once he finished the album, A&M listened to the album, and they was like, you know what? This won't be a commercial success. So they scrapped it and shelved it. So then he started doing local gigs with the band that was hired for the album. So they joined forces, and he named them the Hot Band. So then they had the Hot Band. Then he hired these singers. There was 4 sisters by the name of the Pointer Sisters, but they ain't what they was called back then. They're just his background singers. So then they would do their live show. Their live show was in high in demand because they were full of energy, and everyone loved the music. So they recorded their first album, and the album was a complete flop. So even one critic said it lacks the fire from their live shows, which people don't realize live shows and studio recordings are different. Like I love Avery Sunshine, and I love Ledisi, and I love their recorded material. But once you see them live in concert, it's like I don't want to go back to recording because their live shows is just like that. Same thing with Jill. The first time I experienced Jill Scott live, I couldn't listen to her first album the same again because Jill would take songs, but she rearranges her songs too, and she's a great live performer. And that was Sylvester. Sylvester was excellent at live performance, and that's what he felt. He said he felt at home. He could be his true self. He could just be free, and he would let it all out on stage. So then they toured the U.S. Now, however, in several of the southern states, they all received death threats from conservatives and racists, of course, because Sylvester was drag. You had this front man out here and wearing makeup and heels. And in the 70s, in the South, that was to me that was daring to even book a gig in the South, knowing you're gonna be in drag. But Sylvester was Sylvester. So now in 1974, the Hot Band they left Sylvester saying he was too difficult to work with. It took y'all years. Okay. Anyway, they left him. And then his relationship with Michael ended as well. And Michael ended up moving to Hawaii. Baby, now that's a breakup. Y'all live in California. This man packed up and moved to Hawaii. That's a breakup. So Sylvester started doing local gigs around LA. And then one in particular he did was at a spot called Jules Catch One, which was a local black gay bar on West Pico. So he had found a new band, got 2 background singers. He ended up getting 2 guys and drag, and they were doing background. And the people weren't feeling it at all. He got terrible reviews. They're like, no, they wanted what he had first. So the Jews like, no, we want what you had, but he didn't have what he had because they broke up. So he put things on hold for a hot minute and went back to regroup and rebrand himself. Try to do things over again. So he had a whole brand new team. Had a new manager, and then he had auditions for background singers. So One lady came in to audition, and when she got there, she said there was a skinny white girl standing at the piano singing, and she said she did. Now in her own words, she said she didn't sound like nothing, and well compared to her, I believe it. But anyway, she said the woman didn't sound like anything. She sang, so she finished. Sylvester asked her, "Can you come up here and sing something?" Sure. She got to the thing and she sang, and then nobody said nothing to her, so she walked out, but she was going somewhere kind of way. She got turned around. So anyway, Sylvester found her and said, "Hey, do you have a friend who is as large as you and who can sing as well as you?" She said, "Yeah." He stopped the auditions. They didn't tell her that at first, but he had stopped the auditions. He's like, he don't have to see nobody else. He found what he wanted. So she said, "Yeah." So she went to a payphone and called her friend named Izora Rhodes and said, "Girl, look, we got a gig, blah, 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 blah." And the rest is history. That's how it became Sylvester. But he called them the girls. It was Sylvester and the girls. Martha and Izora themselves came up with 2 tons of fun. So then they took, that's it. Blah, blah, blah. Said that. He says, put on, said that. And need a young woman named Martha. Oh, yeah, I said that. Fresh face, heavy set, straight out the church soprano. Yeah, that's Martha. Once he heard her sing the audition ceased, yeah, he asked if she had a friend. Yeah. So Sylvester was listening to, he started listening to a new genre of music called disco. He loved it, and it was very popular on the gay scene, but he didn't know if he could do it or not. He's like, I don't know. He didn't know if he would feel comfortable doing it. And it was topped by black female artists like Donna Summer, Gloria Gaynor. They were Thelma Houston. They were at the top of the charts. They were doing a thing, and you didn't hear too many men disco singers. You know, men eventually came in, and of course, palm color artists came in, and then with bullshit like Disco Duck. I don't know if you remember disco. I just remember when I was a kid. I used to love disco. But anyway, like I said, he was unsure if he could do it or not, so he pushed through and started recording an album. And then he came in. A guy came in named Patrick Crowley, who he had heard of. He knew who he was, but he invited him to come in. So he came into the studio, started playing. Sylvester asked him to join the studio band. So Sylvester got so impressed with his playing, he asked him to be a backup musician on the tour. And so they came up, they found songwriter, and they came up with 2 songs to as singles, Mighty Real and Dance Disco Heat, which actually became 2 of his biggest hits to date. Those are classics. Those are not even hits, those are classics. So the songs were released as singles, and great hits. So he toured heavily and gained success and notoriety from off them 2 songs. But like so, you got a full show with them, with him and the Tons. So he was now in 1980, while they were in New York, Sylvester got arrested. So he got arrested for robbery. He was accused of robbery and stealing some very rare coins. So he got put in jail for 3 days. And then he got released for $30,000. Now, you know, in 1980, 30,000, woo, that was some money. So he was never charged for the crime. And he was discovered that he was truly innocent of it all because there was an imposter posing as Sylvester, who was signing checks in Sylvester's name, which is how the coins became stolen. And I guess in the 80s, that was a thing. There were a few celebrities who were looked at as criminal, who had criminal activity against them. One being Shirley Murdoch. There was an imposter who was going around booking gigs and getting the money. You know, they were booking the gigs over the phone though and getting the money. You know, back then in the 80s, you didn't have no internet, nothing like that. You didn't have no email. So they're booking gigs over the phone. And, you know, they would tell them, my fee is blah, 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 blah. And they would pay the fee, whatever. But turns out, it took them a couple of years to find it. But it was a drag queen. I wonder if it was the same drag queen imitating Sylvester. But anyway, it was a drag queen imitating Shirley Murdoch. And when they showed the picture, he really did look like Shirley Murdoch. He had the wig, everything, just like Shirley. So, yeah. And so he was committing fraud in Shirley Murdoch's name. So anyway, after that, Sylvester went back to San Francisco and started recording his next album. He left disco alone totally because there was a thing called the Disco Sucks movement I don't know if you all know about that, but that happened. It took place in Chicago, out on Wrigley Field, and where they took a bunch of disco records and burned them on the field. Threw them out in the field and burned. They had a big bonfire. So anyway, after that, Sylvester said, I'm done with this. So he recorded the last album for Fantasy Records. And by then, Martha and Azor, they was gone. They was doing their own thing. They were they were the Weather Girls by now, which got changed because of the song "It's Raining Men." Yeah, they're the Weather Girls. So his background singers now were Jeannie Tracy, who she's known throughout the industry, and a young man named Maurice Long. So between Maurice, Jeannie, and Sylvester, they changed their name to the Kojic Singers because all three of them grew up in the Church of God in Christ. Child. I wonder what Bishop Wooten will say about that. Anyway, then in 1982, Sylvester and the Tons, they both suspected they were owed royalties from Fantasy Records. And so Sylvester filed a lawsuit in November 1982, which it proved successful because, come to find out, Sylvester was owed back royalties, as he suspected. He was owed $218,112.50. However, Harvey Fuqua, who is the head of Fantasy Records, he was only able to pay $20,000. That's all he had. So Sylvester never saw the majority of his money, which is not funny, that he was owed. So, which happened to a lot of singers. The contracts that they signed, I believe a lot of people signed contracts without lawyers present. And if they did have the lawyer present, the lawyer was the lawyer of the record company, which, like I tell people, I used to tell the dude I used to manage back in Chicago years ago, the lawyer for the record company is not going to work for you. He works for the record company. So they're not going to be in your favor at all. You can't work for both of y'all. I can't have your back and have their back. I can't have their back and have your back. It doesn't work like that. So you should always have your own lawyer, which now is a lot of people going independent and releasing stuff themselves on streaming. So streaming is actually a blessing to artists. Now labels, not so much. Even though some kind of way the labels worked it for the old music, they can get paid off of that as well now. But some things that you can't find on streaming because the labels won't release it because they're not getting any money. Which is real quick, Tommy Boy Records. De La Soul didn't rest in peace to Dove. De La Soul didn't have their music on streaming for a while. So they kept going back and forth because Tommy Boy wouldn't release it because Tommy Boy wasn't gonna get no money, so they had to finagle their way trying to get money. It never worked. So anyway, Tommy Boy sold to, I forgot the man's name. Anyway, he bought it. He contacted De La Soul. They had a meeting, and they said starting March 3rd, I believe. March of this year, De La Soul's music will be available for streaming. I can't wait. And it was like, I'm sad because Dove never got to see that. They all set it up, but he never got to see it being released on streaming because that would be another income for them, which is great. But anyway, so in 1985, Sylvester had a boyfriend named Rick Kramer, Cramer. And Kramer, well, first, let's see this clip. Kwame, can you show the clip? This was, yeah.
Good. Now, let me ask.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
No. What?
Rick's parents are watching.
Yeah? Surprise! You're telling me they didn't know Rick was living with you? How long are you together with Rick?
2.5 years.
Well, what's his last name? What's Rick's last name?
Kramer.
Rick?
Kramer.
Rick Kramer.
Kramer. Kramer. Kramer.
Rick Kramer's parents. Now, you should have looked in your closet 10 years ago. You wouldn't be.
He's gorgeous.
So are you.
Well, thank you.
So are you.
That's Rick Kramer in the picture. I thought that was funny. Now, I know in today's times, Joan Rivers, I was going to say Joan Crawford, Lord. Joan Rivers probably would have been canceled or whatever because, today these people don't play. Cancel culture does not play. I thought it was funny. But now in that same interview, though, she also called Sylvester a drag queen. He was like, I'm not a drag queen. I am just Sylvester. Period. He looked at himself as just Sylvester. He doesn't see anything different about himself. He just, this is what I do. This is what I like to wear. It's me. And I totally understand that. I totally understand it because that's how I've always looked at myself. Like, I'm just me. I don't like labels. That's just me. And which I always say, I'm just Kire. That's who I am. Period. The end. But anyway, so in 1985, Rick found out he was infected with HIV, and at the time there was no cure and no medicine. So his health declined quickly, and he died on September 7, 1987. So Sylvester was so devastated. His friends had died. A lot of his friends had died, and now the love of his life was gone. So he figured he too was going to be infected, but he refused to go get tested. He was like, he didn't want to get tested. He didn't want to know. I personally know people who are like that. Now, I don't want to know. If it happens, it happens. I just fall out, whatever. But then after he had developed an ongoing cough, he still would not go get tested. He continued to work and started working on albums. So now, I talk about that. So he went to the hospital for a sinus surgery. So yeah, Sylvester went for sinus surgery, and then in that time, that's when he discovered he had full-blown AIDS. So he stayed working. He stayed working. Working on local. He would just work local gigs. He wouldn't go out and tour because he was too weak. He did the. He was working on an album, and that was in 1987. He found out he was working on an album, and the album never did get completed because he became really, really sick, and he just stayed in his apartment. And he now, can you show the picture of him and Patty? That was in there. Yeah, I did. So this is when he was sick. He was at home. He was like, this is like during his last days. So Patty LaBelle came. He had requested for her to come. He called her. He was like, I need to see your face. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm finally see you. And so she came. And this is it. Then they became friends after she heard his version of "You Are My Friend." It's on the luxury. Oh God, I can't think of the name of the album. But anyway, it's the album cover. He's on the cover in a suit, and he on purple sunglasses. He's going up the staircase with some champagne in a club. It's on that. It's a live version. Him and the Tons sing it. It's like a 9-minute version. But anyway, they became, after she heard that, she found out, like, contacted him and everything. And they became really good friends. So then he wrote out his own funeral. He wanted to have an open casket, and because he wanted the world to see him. He wanted roses. He wanted to be buried in a red kimono, and he wanted for his pastor to preach the sermon. His pastor, which was Walter Hawkins. So the funeral was at Love Center in Oakland, too. So because there, also some other fun facts. Sylvester was he didn't sing in the choir there. He was on the usher board. He served his church. Even when he wasn't working, he would go to church faithfully and serve. And he loved Walter Hawkins' church because Walter Hawkins, at that church, they didn't judge. That was like, Love Center is actually one of the few churches back then, only church that I know of then in the 80s, early 90s, that did not judge people for being gay. They had an open door policy. All are welcome. It wasn't necessarily a gay church, but just all were welcome. So Sylvester there, he served on the usher board. Another fun fact is the album he was working on and the album that was released before that, his studio singers, if you look on the album, the liner notes, his background singers were the Hawkins family. He had Tremaine, Walter, Edwin, Carolyn, Lynette, and also Daryl Coley. Those are his background singers. And sometimes when he would go out and perform at the local gigs, local gay clubs, Tremaine would be one of his singers, and along with Carolyn. And I'm sorry, and Yvette Flunder. Yvette Flunder was also one of his singers, and a really, really good friend of his. So, and she is one who he had her orchestrate the funeral to make sure everything went accordingly to plan. As you all know, Yvette Flunder is she is the lead singer of the song "Thank You" by Walter Hawkins. She's also a bishop. She's a pastor of her own right now. She's also an advocate and an LGBTQ person, lesbian. and she is. I like to hear her speak. I like to hear Yvette speak. But yeah. So she was Sylvester's good friend, along with a few other celebrities that came to visit him while he was dying. He didn't want to be seen in his last days. He was sick, but he didn't want too many people seen. So for that Thanksgiving of 1988, his family came and they came to his house and they cooked everything. He was bedridden by then. He couldn't get out of bed. So they came. That was his last Thanksgiving. Like, this was 88. This picture of him and Patty. This was, let me see, Thanksgiving with his family. I think this picture was taken like in October or September. So it's October 88. And after that, Sylvester passed away on December 16th, 1988. And that's when he lost the battle. And that's when they did, because they had the funeral and everything, as he wished. Everything went according to plan. And Sylvester is an innovator, which is why I picked him to do this, to talk about, because he was an innovator. He was an influencer, not the type of influencer as the straights always try to say Lil Nas X is, but he was just an influencer on people to be yourself, to don't take no for an answer. And as I stated, the album covers they messed with him on. So his first album cover, they had him in a man's suit and sunglasses. He still had a beat face, but it was in black and white. So he played it. He wore a mink, I forgot the shawl or whatever, over it. So he played it cool, but he went along with it. But after that, it was like the second time he said, "I can't do this. I got to be me." So they stopped messing with him, and he was eventually started being himself, who he was, and that's what he fought. Now that's class to have the Hawkins. Yeah, absolutely. He had the Hawkins family, absolutely. That's if you read the line. I was a liner notes kid. If you read the line notes, you will see all the names there: the Hawkins family and Gerald Coley were his background vocalists. Ain't that amazing? Wow. Oh, I wanted the church kids know that. Well, now you do. But anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. I love y'all. Thank you for rocking with me. Next week we're going to talk about what we doing next week? It's Black History Month still. We'll talk. We'll talk Black History. We'll talk. Oh, groups. Yeah, I'm doing groups. Not musical groups, but groups that help the community, like the Black Panthers, the Black Liberation Army, and I've just learned that there is a new account, NFS, no fucking something, but it's a new Black Liberation group. We'll get into all that next week because they are making history. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Let's have conversations. Join me on TikTok where I talk about any and everything. Thank you for rocking with me. I love you all. Good night. Have a great weekend. Peace.